So in the UK there are many car shows, you've got all sorts from muscles to Bath to supercars, and of course I always try to attend all the supercar and hypercar ones. However, because hypercars are so rare, there's not many meets. But in the UK there is a company called Supercar Driver, and they specialise in supercar and hypercar meets. And they try and do them every week, but only for special owners. So you have to be a member, so it's not publicly, you have to own a supercar, and they're very strict about what's a supercar. So a Nissan GTR might not even make their list. You have to own something that's probably over £100,000. And every week they'd go to a different location, do different, maybe, not challenges, but different locations, and maybe do certain drives, tours, and I've been following it for the last 10 years. Now, throughout the 10 years, they've also hosted something called the Supercar Secret Meet. Now, it's called Secret Meet for a reason, because it is a secret hypercar meet. But it's not so secret. So every year, they try and gather all the hypercars around the UK into one space, like an underground meet, but secret. But it isn't so secret. So they try and pick them from all the locations, up north, up south, east, west, all around the location in the UK, and try and get the most special cars into one place. So this could be cars that have got 0 mileage on, that have been sat in a garage, and they want to try and get them out into this one place and film it all in one go. So every year they do this, they try and do it in a different location. They've done it at runways because the amount of cars that turn up, and believe it or not, being the UK, it is very small, say to compare to the USA. But the amount of hypercars we own, it blows my mind, it'll blow everyone's mind. We have so many, however they are so secretive because of, well, I don't blame some owners. You don't really want to keep driving your £5 million car with the pot roads we've got, and our traffic is atrocious. But for the secret meet, they always try and hold it on a runway so they can line all the cars up, get amazing drone footage, and see all the hypercars as if you're in a game. Now, I was lucky enough to go to my first one 2 years ago. I had a mate who took me in his Aston Martin Vantage, and it blew my mind. The hypercars that were there, that were incredible. However, last year, the last secret meet, however, it really didn't turn out to be secret at all, was something so special. I think it pretty much topped the whole world in hypercars terms, unless you go down to Pebble Beach, Monterey, where you do get every hypercar. But I went down last year, and this was held at a place which is secret. But when I say secret, when we turned up at the gates at this place, at this track, there was thousands of spotters waiting for all these cars to come in. And you kind of think to yourself, when they've called it a secret meet, how does everyone know about it? But this is an event where if you're a car enthusiast in the UK, you want to see all these cars turn up. However, throughout the years, the cars they've managed to get, like an Aston Martin Vulcan, or a 911 GT1, a CLK GTR, an F1, you name it, they are normally trailered down. So you kind of want to be in amongst the supercar owners to try and get into this event. So as soon as you go in, you have all the spotters taking pictures, and the word spreads around. Us spotters, you put it on social media, and you hear about these things. Supercar Driver do post all their stuff, and throughout the years, people are just, they're like, oh, it's going to happen right this month, let's chance it, let's stay at the side of the road and watch all these cars drive past. And me and Chiro from Petrol Hensum, we went down in the beautiful Viola Ophelia Lamborghini Aventador Hubert Edition. Now, this was the first ever time this car would be seen in the public, as we unveiled it last week at the Warren with Fabio Lamborghini. So, you had all these spotters looking around, and we're sat in this beautiful V12 Aventador, and we're wondering, why is no one taking a photo of this car? Like, it's beautiful, the purple shining in the sunlight. It's a Lamborghini Aventador, one of my favourite cars. But all these spotters are just taking photos, of course, of the car behind us. What was it? It was a Porsche Carrera GT. And what was behind that? Another Porsche Carrera GT. And you can kind of imagine the road just went down with LaFerraris, P1s, 918s, Paganis, Koenigseggs, Bugattis. We were looked so out of it in an Aventador, it was hilarious. And you still had other people turning up in their Pista Spiders, looking like they've got a Ford KA, just out of place. And that's quite a crazy feeling to think you've got a £200,000 car and you're out of place. So we'd be pulling up to this secret meet and we'd pull up in front of all these supercars around us, and you kind of feel a bit more at home, like, wow, we have made it. We're in the secret meet from Supercar Driver, and my brain is going. The amount of hypercars that are here, you know, my brain's ticking off all the list. So many cars I haven't seen before, because they honestly do get the rarest of them all. They would get LaFerraris, but not just any LaFerrari. One will be in like a Rosso Barchetta spec. That's a very rare red that not many LaFerraris were finished in. But they would get it to this event. They would get a Bugatti Veyron, but not just any Veyron. They'd get the pure Sang. And also the Devo turned up, and the owner himself that owned the Devo turned up in his Ferrari Monza, an SF90 and a Navichiron. It's like, you can't just own one car, can you? He turned up in a fleet of hypercars and it looked incredible. They also have a paddock with all the old F1 cars, an old Schumacher F1 car. It was like built like a village. The more you look around, there's like a mini Goodwood Festival of Speed. But it's in this literally car park of this racing track. So you'd be looking around and you'd have showrooms and dealerships showcasing their cars. And of course, one of my favourites was Baytree's example of the Lamborghini Murcielago, finishing the beautiful Verde Draco. And that was incredible to see for the very first time. That car just sat there, being one of my favourites. And then next along, you would have Joe Macari, and they had a yellow LaFerrari. They had a LaFerrari that had red carbon on the roof, you know, specs I've never seen before. You'd move along, and you'd have like Tom Hartley, and the list goes on. And these showrooms or dealerships would be showcasing such a crazy variety of supercars. But these were from a dealership. It didn't feel as special as people that have actually driven hours to this event. So you'd turn the corner, and just around from the paddock, you'd have owners turn up in the best of hypercars. And you'd have people turn up in like a CLK GTR. And that's like, you can't get any better than that. You had a McLaren F1. You had the 911 GT1 actually turn up. Of course, I think that actually was trailered. It's all the way from Scotland. So I don't suspect he wanted to drive 8 hours down in especially that car. But just to see these cars all together sat in one place, it was just as if you were in the video game. You know, you've purchased all the cars, you've unlocked them all on Forza. Well done, you've got 250 cars, which one do you want to pick? And you just dump them all on the road. This is what Supercar Driver have created, and over the years it's got better and better to where I can't even imagine how they're going to top it. However, being the secret meet, I've heard rumours that this year is going to be even crazier. So about halfway through the day of the secret meet, they would normally take all the cars out for a parade lap around the racetrack. And that's quite rare to see all these hypercars actually moving and driving. And you would have some special cars like a Murcielago GT1 actually built for the road, flaming along, racing next to it, even though it was in a parade lap, next to a Senna GTR, which was also flaming. Stuff that you'd never see or even imagine unless it was literally in a video game, you were racing against your mate, you know, in Forza. But you'd honestly have a GT1 Mercy versus a Senna GTR as a flame off down the straight of this runway. It was absolutely incredible. And then when you go around the bend, 5 Bugattis would also follow it, then 3 LaFerraris, and then all the Paganis, and then the Koenigsegg's. I think there's like 6 Koenigsegg's in total, a 1-to-1, from the Regera to the Carbon series to the CCXR. It was just non-stop of all the special manufacturers. So for me, my dream is always, of course, to own a supercar. And as much as I'd love to say I'd love to own a hypercar, I have to probably be reasonable. But I'd like to make it something that, you know, a goal for me to own a supercar in the future. And for me, something very simple has always been the Ferrari 458. It's something that I fell in love when I was younger. I grew up with it. And it's always been a dream of mine to hopefully own it one day. It's, well, hopefully by the times, maybe I'm a bit older, I can drive, but that car is still out of my league for insurance-wise. Say 3 to 4 years' time, hopefully it'll be around 60, 70,000, and hopefully if everything goes well, I'd love to be able to say I could own it. And for me, the Ferrari 458 would just be the dream. However, if I wanted to attend Supercar Driver, would they let me in with a 458? I would hopefully think so, but I'm not too sure. The cars they get, and you have to be special, you have to be different. I might have to wrap it maybe chrome pink and put a wide body it to stand out. But for me, the 458 is always the dream. Of course, hypercar-wise, I love Pagani, Koenigsegg, but having 3 to 5 million spare, I might have to work a bit harder.
Premier Financial Services makes it easier and more affordable than you could possibly imagine to own your dream car. Their Simple Lease is one of the most powerful tools in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits like the tax savings and the low payments of a lease with all the additional benefits that you normally find in a traditional finance arrangement. You can build up equity, you can pay it off early, you can trade in and out of cars because you get a very clear and easy to understand amortization table to understand what your payoff will be any month throughout your term. And all the while, the amazing team from Premier Financial Services will be right there to help you along the way. They've been supporters of the VINwiki channel now for 5 years in a row, so we can't thank them enough for that, but mostly we're thankful for the fact that they can help you make it easier than ever to own your dream car. Check them out now.